Hey guys, got a few minutes before I clock in this morning. I just wanted to share with you the importance of this election coming up in November and how and why Democrats lie to us. But first, let me just tell you this, that liberals will always project, rules for radical Saul Alinsky. One of his rules was accuse your opponent of what you do. So you'll hear the mainstream media constantly say Trump lies. And this is what they'll use, they'll fact check him, say this was a lie. I'll just give you a quick example. He'll say 20 million illegal immigrants came across the border during Harris and Biden's reign, while Harris was the border czar. And they'll say, well, she was never officially called the border czar, so that's a lie. But everybody called her the border czar. Okay, basically, she was given the position of fixing the border. Everybody knows that. And the mainstream media that's saying it's a lie literally called her the border czar. That's number one. Number two, they'll say, according to government statistics, only 8 million illegal immigrants crossed the border. So this is how they lie. Officially, 8 million came across. That's 8 million that the Border Patrol were told to let in. So they talk to them like these guys come in. They go right to the cartels, tell them go right to the Border Patrol and tell them that you're a refugee, you're fearing for your life. That's the rule under Biden to get in. So Obama did the same thing, and he would give them like a court date in like 6 months that 90% of them never showed, and that's why we know they're in here, because they never showed up to the court date, and we're unable to track them because we don't vet them as they come through. But under Biden, they just tell them, get in contact with us. They don't give them a date. You just call. You call when you get a chance, and we'll set up a court date. So that's 8 million just free in the country. But according to the men on the ground, the Border Patrol that endorses Donald Trump, the men actually on the ground, the agents, they say more than double of that, 16 to 20 million, is really the real number because of the gotaways, guys that had illegal fentanyl or whatever they were doing illegally that they didn't want to get. They didn't even want to talk to the Border Patrol, so they got away. So that's where Donald Trump comes up with the number. Maybe it's exaggeration, but it's not an outright lie. But the point is, millions of people are coming across, and the government acknowledges that 300,000 children, small children, I'm talking like 5, 6 years old, are missing. We can't account for them. We went looking for them. We can't find them. We have no idea where they are. And the border agents, the FBI, say 90% of them are probably trafficked for sex slaves. This is disgusting. Like if this was under Trump, this would be wall-to-wall 24/7 news. This is huge, horrible, immoral news that the media is in collusion with the Democrats so they won't report it. 300,000. This is a fact. So this is the bigger point. So maybe Trump exaggerates the numbers that come over, but he's bringing attention to a problem that no one ever talked about. No one ever talked about illegal immigration until Trump. And the first 3 years of the Biden administration, or the first 2 years, they ignored it. They said, oh, that's just a Republican lie. And the media was like, yeah, the Republicans are exaggerating. And until the Republican governors started sending these illegal immigrants to blue cities, and now these Democrat governors are saying we need help. We need to close the border. So, under Trump, this didn't happen. When children came in, we detained the children and made sure we found their parents. You see, because the drug cartels, they bring them over. They say, oh, we got a sponsor. We're sending them to this guy in New York. And they'll fly the kid with our taxpayer to this guy in New York. But this guy in New York is just another cartel member. See, Trump didn't allow that to happen. He would detain the kids. And then the media made a big thing about how Trump separating mothers from children, and AOC went to the border crying. She's such a good actress. In fact, she is an actress. I'll get to that in a second. Crying, this is horrible. Trump's putting kids in cages. But in fact, there were fenced in areas to protect them from the predators and to wait till they can verify, is this really your mom? Is this really your dad? That's why they did it. And the fences, which they call cages, were left over from the Obama administration. In fact, Glenn Beck and Dana Loesch during Obama's presidency, went down there with films and said, look at these kids in cages. And the media ignored it. So AOC, if you don't know who she is, she's a Democrat congresswoman from New York City. She was a bartender, and this communist party in New York City wanted to run against an incumbent Democrat. They didn't think he was liberal enough, so they had auditions, and AOC won the audition. She's a great actress. She's a beautiful woman, but she's dumb. She doesn't know, she's just really dumb. She she made Amazon want to come to her district and provide 30,000 jobs, and she wouldn't allow it because she said they didn't pay enough. But anyway, she killed 30. She's a job killer. She's a horrible congresswoman, but she'll keep getting voted because she's very pretty and she's a good talker. So they'll just keep voting her in New York for some reason, for those reasons. But anyway, getting back to the border, it's very immoral what Biden's doing. So they'll say Trump's lying because he exaggerates the numbers, but he's going by the numbers the guys on the ground give him, And people say, well, Pope Francis says, you shouldn't turn away migrants. Well, just like the liberal media takes Trump out of context to make him look evil, they take Pope Francis out of context to make them look like he's a Democrat. What Pope Francis said was, you shouldn't just turn anywhere away. You should, talk to them and see, is their life in danger? And then try and help them in some way. Either they have to go back to their country safely, or you can bring them in. Basically, he explained legal immigration that we have in America. That's what we do. That's what legally, more people come to America legally, we allow, than any other country in the world. We allow like 1 million legal immigrants a year. So recently, he said it's a grave moral sin to turn these people away. But if you read what he said in context, he was talking about 49,000 migrants that drowned coming from across the Mediterranean Sea from Africa to Europe. And he said they had drones, people watching the drones, watching them drown, and didn't send help. He said, if you're watching someone die and you don't send help, that's a grave mortal sin. And he said in the past, yes, every country is entitled to have borders. Sorry, but that light stayed on permanent. Let me get this light back on for you guys. Where the heck is it? I gotta just open the door. It'll go back on for a minute, I guess. So what the Biden administration is very immoral. They know that the cartel has control of the border. According to the Border Patrol guys on the ground, everyone knows this. It's like a dirty little secret. And the cartel is trafficking women and children. That's where they're making most of their money. And fentanyl, killing Americans. So it's very immoral what's going on the border. And Harris and Biden know it. And the reason they allow it, Nancy Pelosi said it the other night, talking to her liberal friend Bill Maher. Bill Maher said to her in California, the California State House and Assembly, they passed it, just got to get Governor Newsom's signature, a bill that would give illegal people that came illegally, they're not even citizens, they're not even legal citizens, here legally, they're here illegally, $150,000 of taxpayer money to buy a house. And in California, that's just a down payment. Houses are like $900,000 in California. But imagine, you come here illegally, so you're incentivizing people to come here illegally. And of course, Nancy Pelosi, being a liberal Democrat, thought that was a great idea. And then when Bill Maher said, well, what about, these people that come here legally or just regular citizens? Why are you showing favoritism to the illegals? And she said, well, the plan is to make them legal. She said it straight up. The plan is to make them legal. Give people $150,000 for a house, they got to vote. Now, Governor Newsom probably knows Harris isn't going to win, so he's going to run for president in 2028. And he knows that would blow up in his face. And he's already got the Democrat vote locked in California. So he didn't sign the bill. He vetoed the bill. So they're not getting $150,000. But if it would have helped them politically, he would have signed it. So the whole idea is they're letting all these illegals in and they're trying to get them to vote. Tim Walz is giving them free education, her vice president, giving them ID, license, free license. They don't have to pay for the license. They just give them a license so they can drive. And when you got a license, it's kind of easy to vote. So They want these guys to vote. Their votes, they don't care about their health. They don't care about the missing children. They don't care about the exploited women, you know. So enforcing the border is the most moral thing Americans can do. And Donald Trump had it enforced with an executive order. And on day one, Biden reversed every single executive order that kept our border secure, stopped the building of the wall. And now all of a sudden, this is where the lies start. Harris says she's for building the wall. And they said, oh, why did you change your position? Or one interview, they tried to throw her a hook. You know, they throw her a softball to give her a good answer. Why did you change your position on building a wall? Do you think it's, you know, did you look more into it and get educated? Like, they're trying to give her an out for flip-flopping, but she just did it for political reasons. She said, no, my values never changed. Next question. And then they don't follow up. They just ask the next question. So in other ways, they'll say Trump lies, but it's actually the Democrats lying. In a debate, Trump said, hey, I put the abortion back to the states. That's what everybody wanted. Oh, everybody didn't want that. He's a liar. Everybody didn't want that. Well, he's getting attacked by pro-lifers, guys like me, for not wanting a national ban, you know, a federal ban on abortion. And he's defending himself against pro-lifers, saying, listen, everybody wanted it back to the states. And that's what every pro-lifer did want. They told him to get it back to the states. So that's what he's saying there. Is he exaggerating when he says everybody? Yeah, was it every single person? But in general, most pro-lifers wanted it back to the states. And even liberal scholars knew that it was bad law. There's no right to abortion in the Constitution. That was just made up. And even Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who was a pro-choice activist judge, said, yeah, there's no right to abortion. That was the worst legal decision in the history of the court. But I support it because I'm a liberal. She admitted. They don't care about these liberal judges don't care about the law. They're there politically. But again, they'll project it onto the conservative judges as they're political. And then they'll say, oh, you know, he said he was against the 6-week ban, but then he had political pressure and he voted for the 6-week. He said he's going to vote for the 6-week ban in Florida. No. They asked him straight up, are you for the 6-week ban? He said, no, I think 6 weeks is too little. They said, are you going to vote against it? He says, I'm going to vote for, you know, a longer ban. That's all he said. And then he looked at the law and said, yeah, I got to vote against Amendment 4 because Amendment 4 would allow abortions through the 9th month. And this is a lie that the media and the Democrats always spin. No, it won't allow abortions to the 9th month. It'll only allow to the point of viability, which is like 24, 25 weeks, so 6.5 months pregnancy, except if the health of the mother is in danger. And they have you think in the life of the mother, if the mother's going to die. But they don't say life, they say health. And that could be mental health. She could say she's depressed. And then her abortion provider, which is usually Planned Parenthood, who's the biggest abortion industry in the world that makes billions of dollars. It's a business to them. They never turn anyone away. Never turn you away and say, nah, you know, I don't think you should kill your baby. No, whatever reason, it could be mental health, physical health. It could be something as simple as, you know, if she gives birth to this baby, she'll have leakage every time she coughs, she'll pee. You know, that happens sometimes when women give birth. There could be a million reasons. Whatever that abortion doctor decides will affect her health. So he's not lying. The Democrats are lying. In fact, the Democrats have to lie or the Democrat Party dies. And you see that every election, Clinton, Obama, Biden, Harris, they always come to the middle and act like they're moderate, and then they govern like liberals. They always lie to you. So people think, you know, oh, Clinton was a good, you know, he was like a moderate president, you know, balanced the budget. His first 2 years, he was a radical liberal. His ideas were socialist. He was radical. And then the Republicans took control of the House for the first time in 40 years. I was there. I voted. Newt Gingrich led the Republican Revolution. And there's so many Democrats that went to jail for corruption. They've been in the House for 40 years. They're like top guys. Look this up. Ross Stankowski, I think he went to jail for like 10 years for corruption. The Democrats had the House for 40 years. And then Newt Gingrich, so after 2 years, Bill Clinton knew he was in trouble. So he hired Republican campaign strategist, Dick Morris, he hired him. He went to work for Bill Clinton and said, you got to help me because I want to get reelected. So he said, well, you gotta meet these Republicans. You got to look like a moderate. You got to pivot to the center. So for 2 years, Newt Gingrich, for 2 years, you know, they've been trying to get you to cut the budget, cut taxes, and you haven't done it. You got to work with Newt Gingrich. So Newt Gingrich gave him a balanced budget, the first balanced budget in 40 years. And he vetoed it. And then Newt Gingrich let the government shut down. I remember there was a picture on Time magazine, the Newt that stole Christmas, and they made Newt Gingrich look like the Grinch because we had a shutdown, government shutdown. And then Dick Morris told him, no, you got to give in. So Bill Clinton caved, signed a balanced budget. And every year after that, 6 years in a row, the Republicans gave a balanced budget to Clinton. And when Clinton got out, it was the first time in a long time that America, and the last time, America had a surplus. We weren't in debt. Imagine, like now we're like 30 trillion debt. We were in no debt because of Republicans. Then they were the kind of Republicans we need today. But Bill Clinton had to act like a moderate. Same thing with Obama. When Obama was a senator, he was like one of the most liberal senators ever. And when he pivots, he acts like when he runs, he acts like a moderate, but then he governs like a liberal. Biden, same thing, acts like a moderate, governed like a liberal. Harris was voted by YouGov track, I think it's YouGov track, voted her the most liberal Democrat in 2019, right before she became vice president in the Senate. Now, all of a sudden, she's for a border wall. Now, all of a sudden, she said she was for a total ban on fracking, total bill on drilling, total ban. Now she's for all this stuff. She even copied Trump on not taxing tips. Like, she sounds like a Republican because they can't be who they really are. They even fake their accents. I've seen this all the time with Democrats, and they would go to black churches and act like they're all for the black people. But now 30% of black men don't get their news from the mainstream media anymore. They watch social media and they see what fake and phonies they are. So that's another reason Trump's going to crush it this election, because he's getting a large portion of the black vote that he never got before. And he's getting a large percentage of the Hispanic vote because these Hispanics come in legally. They wait years and years, work hard, do everything by the book. And then they see these illegals come in and get handed thousands of dollars, and in fact, Biden and Harris fly him in from these countries, Venezuela, Nicaragua. They literally go there with our planes, our taxpayer, and put them on and fly them in, illegal ones. And they stopped it for a minute. When I first heard it, I'm like, no, that can't be true. And then I found out it was true, and the media ignores it. And then recently the media had a report on it because they found out a lot of corruption was going on with these, so they stopped it. But I just read they started them up again last week, flying these illegals in. So, they're trying to overwhelm the country to get that Hispanic vote, but it's backfiring because the Hispanics that are here legally are mostly Christians, and mostly Catholic Christians, and they see the immoral beliefs of the Democrat Party, abortion through the 9th month. Transgender surgeries on children. Tim Walz made his state a sanctuary state for transgender kids. So if you're a minor that wants to have a transgender surgery and your parent won't let you can go to Minnesota and they'll let you get it without your parents' consent. This is how sick and disgusting the Democrat Party has become. So yes, Donald Trump may not be the best Christian. He may not even be a Christian. I don't know his heart. Only God knows. But he's been the best president in my lifetime to protect Christian rights. He's been the best president to protect the freedom of speech. He purposely says things that are so politically incorrect just to show the Democrats, this is America. We can say whatever we want. And the first thing the communists do is shut down freedom of speech and freedom of religion. They go hand in hand. That's why there are First Amendments. And then the second thing they do is shut down freedom to bear arms, the right to bear arms. They want total control. And this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to control speech. They'll label it hate speech. And Walz and Harris both said that some people deserve to lose their privilege of speech because they lie or they have hate speech. And we need to remind them that freedom of speech is not a privilege that the government can take away. It's a God-given right that no government can take away. This is America. So I think we're going to win big, but they're going to lie. They have to lie or their party dies. They have to lie about their position on abortion. They have to lie about their position on transgenderism. They have to lie on their position on taxes. You know, this is what they do. You know, they have to talk like a conservative or at least a moderate during the election, and then afterwards they're going to govern like a socialist communist that they are. And once they're in power, we're screwed because they're talking about getting rid of the filibuster, packing the courts, making D.C. and Puerto Rico a state. So this way it'll be, you know, forever Democrat control. And you see Biden's been out to lunch for the past 3 years. He's been at the beach literally 90% of the time since he decided not to run. So you realize it's just the Democrat machine, the establishment machine running things. And Trump is the biggest threat to this establishment machine. He's such a big threat that even Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney came out against him. And Dick Cheney is, you know, the old establishment, uniparty Republican that profited off, you know, the Cheneys never met a war they didn't like, you know. They profited off millions of dollars off of Halliburton, and the left hated them. Or they would, you know, supposedly they hated him because of all these wars. They called him Darth Vader. You know, they had their useful idiots thinking he was an evil man. But they were in bed with him, you know, because Biden's brother, Joe Biden, made millions off of the war in Iraq. They worked together, the Uniparty. And you know, Goldman Sachs, all these billionaires came out in favor, you know, endorsing Harris because they all make money on wars and they make money in China. And again, you know, we send a car to China and they'll tax us 100%. They send a car to us, we don't tax them. I think we tax them 2% on their goods, but most of the time there's loopholes. They can get away with not paying any tax or tariff, I guess you would call it, coming in. So Trump's like, well, they're going to charge us 100%. We're going to charge them 100%. And of course, you know, the establishment are saying, oh, no, it's going to raise prices. But Trump was president before, and we had low inflation. In fact, Joe Biden was interviewed on CNN, and he said, well, you know, people got to remember when I took office, there was 9% inflation. And the girl interviewing him just let him go. If Trump gives a little exaggeration, they pound him like 10 times on that same question. They just let him go with that. The fact is, Trump never had inflation over 2%. When Biden came in, it was at 1.4%. And the fact is that blue-collar wages were stagnant for 30 years. It didn't matter who was in, Democrat or Republicans. Blue-collar wages never went up until Donald Trump, and blue-collar wages went up 9%. So we had the highest wage increase and the lowest inflation. It was great. This is why 90% of blue-collar workers, whether they're black, white, or Hispanic, are voting for Donald Trump. You know, these guys just lie. They lie, because without lies, the Democrat Party dies. And the Democrat Party today is the most immoral, demonic party of our lifetime. You need to know this, you know. And not everything Donald Trump is going to does, or says is going to be in line with the Catholic Church, but he listens to us. He knows that he can't get elected without us. We have some sway, you know, and he kept his promise. You know, he said he was going to overturn Roe v. Wade, and he did. He said he was going to put conservative judges on all the federal benches, and all the 200 judges, they were all conservative, you know, and he's going to probably put another 200 judges and maybe another Supreme Court judge, and you can bet he's going to keep his word again. Because he does, you know. He's not going to do a federal ban because he doesn't believe that, you know. But 100 times, you know, like I said, he's not perfect. We're not voting whether he's a saint or not. We're not voting if he's our pastor or not. We're giving him a job, and he did the job once, and he was the best president for religious freedom, for freedom of speech, protection of the unborn. You know, churches, he was the best, you know. So it's important to understand how the Democrat machine, and you're talking the Democrat media, ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, and MSNBC, how they lie for the Democrat Party. You know, this is why RFK Jr., became a Republican and endorsed Trump. He said, back in the day, in my father and my uncle JFK's day, the Democrats were for the working man, and they fought corruption, and they fought the corporate greed, and they fought the military-industrial complex. He said, now the Democrat Party are in bed with those people, and it's the Republicans fighting them. He says it's the Republicans that are the party for the working man, and the Democrats have become the party for the elites. He knows this. That's why Tulsi Gabbard, who ran for, in 2020, she ran for Democrat. She was the last one. Kamala Harris was the first one to drop out. Tulsi was the last one. She almost became the Democrat nominee. But she was so anti-establishment that they just tried to destroy her. And that's what they do. They can never beat us with ideas or arguments, so they destroy the person. Oh, racist, whatever, They just destroy the person's character. And you say a lie long enough, people believe it. But many Democrats are coming over because they're seeing that the Democrat Party, you can see Biden's not running things. Who's running it? The machine, the Washington, D.C. machine that's in bed with the Communist Chinese Party. It's all greed and money. They're sellouts. They're traitors. They're in bed with the military-industrial complex. This is why when Putin and Zelensky were going to sign a peace deal, like a month after the war started, Biden said, no, don't do it. He wouldn't let the Zelensky sign. He's like, we got to get rid of Putin. So they fought this war, and hundreds of thousands of people have died. And that's another lie. They'll say, RFK Jr. and Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, they just want to let Putin take over Ukraine. They're like, no, we want a peace deal. We want peace. It's moral to want peace. And under Donald Trump, there was no war in Ukraine. There was no war because we won. We had Russia fearing us. It was peace through strength. Peace through strength. They invaded Georgia under Biden. They took Crimea under Obama. They did nothing. Russia was afraid of Trump. He stopped war. This is a good thing. War is immoral. But under Biden, they're going for the whole full Monty because they know Biden is the most corrupt politician to ever step foot in the White House. And his family's profits off of war. This is a fact. This is a known fact. This is, Hunter Biden pleaded guilty to tax evasion. He didn't pay millions of dollars in taxes so if you're paying, if you owe millions of dollars in taxes, that means you made tens of millions of dollars. They have no business. What is their business? The business was taking money from Russia, Ukraine, China, Romania to have his father, Joe Biden, make policies. This is totally treasonous. I mean, this is like the worst corruption in politics. But everybody's just talking about the taxes. The media's like doing a shell game. He didn't want to put his family through the embarrassment. No, he didn't want people to see why he didn't pay taxes. The Bidens made hundreds of millions of dollars, and the emails show that he was funneling to his dad. So the Biden crime family is wicked. The Biden crime family is evil. The Democrat Party is evil. And I know people are going to say, oh, they're all evil. Well, we had Trump 4 years and we had Biden 4 years. And the only people that did better in those 4 years were illegal immigrants. And this is a fact. Last year, over 1 million Americans lost their job, but over 2 million illegal immigrants got a job. This is a fact. And again, we're to love the refugee that comes in need. My grandparents were all immigrants from Italy and Ireland, But they had to be tested for a disease. They had to be tested to make sure they weren't crazy. They had to be tested to make sure they weren't criminals. And they had to have a job. They had to have a job. So it's a lot different than just letting people in that we don't know. And you're allowing the cartel. We know this is a fact. The cartel is trafficking little children and women and fentanyl. And Biden knows it too, but they're allowing it for power. Just like they're allowing millions of babies to be killed for power. So anyway, that was my political rant this morning. God bless and stay Catholic.